Executive Chef Joseph Schutzer. Welcome to our kitchen. Today I'd like to share with you some recipes for duck. This is the beginning of a three-part series called Just Ducking Around. So join me now and see what beautiful dishes we can create from such a beautiful bird. Here we are with our duck broken down. I have the carcass, the wings, the neck into a pot of 2 gallons of water in a pressure cooker with onion, celery, and carrot, 1 clove of garlic, some peppercorns, bouquet garni, making a stock. 2 hours, we'll strain it through either chinois or cheesecloth. The same recipe that I demonstrated before with chicken stock, it's the same thing. So the first technique I'd like to demonstrate is called confit. Confit is an ancient way of preserving foods. Before refrigeration, this is how they used to do it. You can do it with anything, duck, pork, chicken, anything. Essentially, it just means that you're cooking a food in a fat at a low temperature for a long period of time. It's the exact opposite of deep frying. You can do it in oil, grease, or even in simple syrup. You could do a fruit confit. So without further ado, traditionally, the first thing you do is you would cure the, in this case, duck for 24 hours. So what that'll take is, it'll take a little bit of salt at the bottom, so maybe a tablespoon or so, spread across the bottom of a glass dish. Then I'd like to take a half a clove of garlic, half or 1 whole shallot or half of a small red onion. We will take half of that amount. And then grapeseed oil, I will cover the bottom generously. Might take about 4 to 6 ounces. We will then take our duck legs and lay them in. You want to lay them, pack them tight against each other, but do not overlap, do not stack them and pile them up. Like such. Then we will take our remaining ingredients. Salt that with about another tablespoon or so of salt. The garlic, onion or shallot, thyme, some cracked pepper, and there you have it. We will then cover this with plastic and put it in the refrigerator for 24 hours. Well, here we are on day 2. The duck legs were removed from the refrigerator. At this time, we'd like to unwrap them, place them into a preheated oven, 225 degrees Fahrenheit. If you notice here, I had some other scrap pieces of fat from off the whole duck that I threw in there. Any little bit helps. Keep in mind that the goal on this is a couple things. One, to have a tender, flavorful duck confit. Also, render as much fat as we possibly can. The fat we will use for several things. One, we could use it to preserve the confit in jars or in containers, whatever. Also, the duck fat I like to use as a substitute for butter sometimes. Have a piece of toast and just wipe the duck fat on it with fresh onion, tomato. Well, here we have our confit. It was in the oven, 225 degrees Fahrenheit for 7 hours. And look at all the fat that has rendered out of it. And when we started, we only started with maybe, 4 ounces or so, 3 ounces of oil. So now what I'd like to do is I want to remove these from the oil. Fat. Thank you. So now what I'll do is line a strainer, some cheesecloth. I just find it's easier to clean using the cheesecloth than it is using a fine mesh sieve or a chinois whenever you are straining things like this. Well, now I'm shredding this or pulling it. In front here I have a couple jars of what's called rillette. What that was confit just the same way. And what I did was I took the oil or fat that's left over from it after cooking. What you do is I like to take the duck or even pork or whatever product I'm doing it with. I will chop it roughly, or even can put it into a food processor and pulse it quickly to just make it a little smoother. Not a puree, but a little smaller pieces, and then fold it back into this. Now what we do with this is charcuterie plates, things like that. Take a nice piece of toast or fresh bread, toast it, and while it's still warm, take a whole clove of garlic and scratch it onto the bread just to get the garlic flavor. Then you take this and you spread it just like you would butter or cream cheese, and just smear it on your toast and eat it that way.
What's going to happen to this duck meat?
This here will be a couple of things. We're going to do some duck hash probably tomorrow, because confit or duck in general in this house has a very short lifespan, so most likely it'll be that. I do plan to do some duck tacos with apples and arugula. So yeah, we're gonna be eating it up in a few different ways, and I will do some posts on that as well. Or recipe, if I don't do the video itself, I'll have the recipe included on this segment of the duck. Well, there you have duck confit. The fat that comes with it, and then rillette is just another way of presenting it or preserving it. This, like I mentioned, will be used with tacos, hash, and some other things. This is a second installment of the duck trilogy, or just ducking around as I titled it. Stay tuned. To follow this will be the duck prosciutto that is currently curing and has 2-week cure time, and then we'll get to review it then and check its progress. Well, thank you very much for joining tonight. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned a little bit, and please feel free to leave some comments, some questions. See you next time.